Hello everyone! How y'all doing today? Over the past several weeks I've gotten some more books for my shelf, and I'm going to share them all with you guys today. These ones I thought were pretty good. Gems if I ever saw them. These two, Dracula's Brood and Dracula's Brethren, if you can see that properly there, these two are short story collections that comprise short stories from the 19th and 20th centuries, and they're all vampire-ish short stories, like from all sorts of different people, including the likes of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, which is definitely not something I expected to hear a name attributed to vampires, I'll tell you that much. I know I said when I did my Dracula review that all the old English stuff doesn't really sit well with me right now, but I couldn't pass these ones up, seriously. Like, any good vampire fiction aficionado needs to have these. If nothing else, for the history. Like, the literary history of this stuff is amazing. So, here is Unchained by Helen Hardt. If you're not familiar with with the name of the author, that's fine. I found this in the romance section, so unless you're someone who's into romance books already, you probably wouldn't even know of her. I never heard of her till I happened to stumble across this book. And I'm both interested in reading it and a little apprehensive. Just because I'm not really a romance fiction person. Like, I'm okay with romance as like a subplot type thing, but it's not as like a major plot thing, so I don't know if I'm gonna like it, but I mean, it wasn't too expensive, so I mean, I'll take it. At the very least, it's part of the collection, if nothing else. This book here is Dracul by Dacre, Stoker, and J.D. Barker. I've never heard of J.D. Barker myself, but Dacre Stoker, for those of you who don't know, is the great-great-grandnephew of Bram Stoker. And Dracul is considered or is labeled as the official prequel of Dracula, if that makes any sense. I mean, it makes sense. It's a Stoker who wrote it, so yeah. So I look forward to reading this. I still need to get a hold of the sequel book to Dracula, which he also co-wrote with another author, so hopefully I'll have that soon enough. Now this one is a book I didn't know existed until I saw it on the shelf. And this is A People's History of the Vampire Uprising by Raymond A. Villareal. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Villareal. I took a look on Goodreads with for reviews and stuff that other people put up of this particular book, and a lot of them, including one of the quotes on the back of the book, actually have been comparing this book to World War Z, mostly just because like the title of this book and the subtitle of World War Z are very similar, you know, an oral history of the zombie war, and a people's history of the vampire uprising. Those are very similar. Apparently this book also is told from the point of view of a few different characters who are kind of like bystanders to what's going on or involved in what's going on, which is apparently also a thing World War Z does. I wouldn't know personally because I haven't read World War Z. I have no intention of reading World War Z because it's zombies, and zombies never really interested me. Vampires have always been better, so I'm not going to read a zombie book just to see how similar it is to this book. I'll read this book, and I'll enjoy it for what it is, and hopefully it was worth the purchase. Okay, so that was these 5 books right here, all vampire novels, and now I have 3 fantasy books that I acquired recently. Although I'm reading vampire books primarily on this channel, fantasy has always been a genre that I've read in for years, literally. And now that I've gotten back into writing, I want to dabble in some fantasy series I've never read. And I picked up a few first books in a few fantasy series. I'm going to be doing this with a few others as well. These are the ones I managed to pick up so far. I'm going to start with A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin, of course, who, aside from me, who hasn't read this book at this point. One of the reasons why I picked up Fever Dream a while back, which is also a George R.R. Martin book, if you didn't already know, it wasn't just because it was a vampire novel. It was also because I was trying to test the waters and see if his writing style was something I would latch on to. Because I figured if I could latch onto it relatively easily, then maybe I would take a crack at this. I'm a little apprehensive in a way. I've never watched the show. I know what the characters look like because I've been around while my husband was watching the show, so I've seen how some of the characters look. I've done a little bit of research and all that. But yeah, we'll see how much I like it. I don't know when I'm going to start reading it, but soonish, I think. That I say soonish. It could be it's like several months from now. I don't know. Got a lot of stuff on my TBR. Next we have The Last Wish by Andrej Sapkowski, and this is from the Witcher series. This is actually, it's a short story collection that is the first book in the Witcher series. And I have to admit, although I'm a gamer, I have actually not played any of the Witcher games yet. I have the first 2 games on Steam, because they were like super cheap on a Steam sale some years ago. I have yet to acquire The Witcher 3. I have yet to play through any of them. I just heard they're amazing games. And apparently the books are real awesome too, so I plan on starting to read the series sometime in the near future. And then this last one, I'm pretty proud of as just from a not only publishing standpoint, but a Canadian standpoint. And that is The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. And this, if you didn't already know, one, Evan Winter is a Canadian author, being Canadian. Awesome. I love that when a Canadian author gets well known, has good recognition, and a couple of my favorite booktubers have already read and reviewed this book and said it's really good. It's also the first book in a series that is, I know the author has a 4-book deal with Orbit Books, which this is also pretty an interesting case from a publishing standpoint, because this book was originally self-published, and it did well enough that the author was given the option to get representation from an agent and publisher who's like, hey, we know your book's really good. Do you want some help to publish the rest of the books you want to write? Which I'm going to also note that doesn't happen very often. That's like a once in a blue moon type thing. Very few authors go through that. But I thought I would point it out because it's a very interesting self-publishing success story, and this is considered one of the best fantasy books to have come out in the past year or so. So, Rage of Dragons. Can't wait to read that one. Alright, there we have it. That is all 8 books that I've gotten in the past several weeks. So I plan on doing another book haul within the next couple weeks. It might be the last one I do for a while, just because, but here in Canada, at least, I live in the province of Ontario. And just the other day, the provincial premier, he ordered all non-essential businesses to shut down. So I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to order books for the next while. I'm going to try and order some more before I'm no longer able to, so we'll see. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good one, guys.